Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest
Hello.
episode of Nerds and Heresy, and we're picking back up a Q&A segment that we haven't done in a little while because reasons. And back by popular demand is JEGAYSUS. I had a lot of people in my comments are like, "You need to bring him back. You need to bring him back," and your episode was the most popular.
That I've been told. I've been tagged in some of your videos saying you're still winning in terms of popularity.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's interesting.
It's true.
How's everyone? How's your day? What does your Thursday look like? I know you have kids, so that keeps you busy.
Oh yeah, they have soccer on Thursdays, and soccer went way later than normal. It's usually bedtime's at 8, but we didn't get home till like 7:40, and
okay,
it was like 8.
Yeah, because soccer ended at like 7:40.
And they had to, we had to give them baths because they're gross. So they just got to bed almost an hour late. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, we already have some chat. Apparently, I'm an angel, so we'll take that. Thank you, Karaya.
Let's go. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, we're just gonna, I don't know what we're gonna do.
We can just sit here and stare at each other.
See, you already got people wanting you to do makeup.
Wait, what happened?
I'm assuming that's for you and not me, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not do makeup on camera with us? Oh, well, I mean, I just threw on eyeshadow, but I was just complaining about how sweaty I am. And I was thinking, like, I feel weird when I'm on camera now when I'm not wearing makeup. The fact that it's became like part of the character, if you will, makes me feel weird to, it feels naked.
I hate when I have to shave for drill. And I'm like, oh, I gotta make a TikTok without my beard. I hate it. I hate it so much. And everyone always talks about like, why did you shave your beard off? You need to grow it back. I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to every month. Who's on the line?
Oh, Captain teach you to do makeup. They want you to do the makeup, Dad.
Oh, Gonna have to take a pass on that one.
What if Rachel did it?
Yeah, could do that.
I don't wear a lot of makeup.
She doesn't.
Well, okay, that's fair enough.
I just wear mascara and eyeliner when I want to feel like an emo kid again.
Yeah, pretty much. We have JEGAYSUS on the line, someone asks.
What happened?
So someone on my live asked who we have on the line.
Oh, yes. I have my live up too. So if there's any questions in the live over here, I'll address this camera.
Yeah, we're taking questions from our TikTok live feed as well.
But if you want to go see on YouTube, the channel's Nerds and Heresy.
Yep. Is God from the Old Testament and the New Testament the same? Christians will say yes. The Marcionites, I believe it was an early Christian group, believed that they were two separate gods. They believed that God, the God of the Old Testament, is the creator, and he was the wrathful God, and then Jesus was sent by the New Testament God to bring like the true message of love and hope. So yeah, they held two separate gods.
It depends too. I heard part of that. I'm sorry. I just figured out my audio isn't working.
Oh.
It's supposed to be streaming through the mic, but since this is a new computer, I haven't configured it. I don't know how. But if you hear echo, let me know. I'll go mute while you're talking. I think the most interesting thing is like, the Gnostic belief of the demiurge being a separate entity. I mean, in Christianity, they would argue that it's the same God, right? But if you're to ask like hyperhumanity or any of the neo-Gnostics, they would say it would be different gods. Specifically just because like, the change into like salvation through grace as compared to sacrifice and service. And then just like the blatant things that God in the Old Testament does. I think that's a good argument. I think there's something to that, but
yeah, because there's a clear difference.
There's a very clear difference. Right. There's so much plague and pestilence, and
especially since God is the same yesterday and forever. I'm like, no, he isn't. Read your Bible. It's clearly changed. If it's the same God, he changed quite a bit.
Yeah, even if it's not just a covenant thing, like just the way in which he deals with the world, whether it's a hands-off approach or he is getting involved in every affair.
Yeah.
I think that should be enough proof, if you will, that God changes. And it's not always about just strictly changing his mind. Sometimes it's about changing his presence. So people would argue now that, God doesn't show himself and doesn't do proof through miracles, through changing lives, through anything but just like personal testimony. He's not a grandstander anymore. And yet that was all he was about in the Bible days. Isn't that a change?
Yeah.
Isn't the kind of leaving people to do what they will a change?
Sickness. I don't know if I could. Sickness of the thickness wants to do a live with me. I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. Like,
They sent me a live request as well.
well, no, because if I do a live with him, it does. But like, I could do a live with somebody else. That's what I say. I don't know if I could split my attention that much. What article and scientists can I research for studies that disprove Noah's Ark? Just look up Ron Wyatt, because he's the discoverer. Look up his claims. Look up all the like actual archaeologists who says he's not an archaeologist. He never got any of the certificates or permits that were required he doesn't have a dig site. Like, all these things are very well documented. And he comes back with all these claims that he's found all these things, and there's like weird evidence. Like, he says he took pictures, but like they came out blurry weirdly, so you can't see them, but swears up and down. I saw a video of a guy who holds like a stalactite, and he was like, this is the stalactite that Ron Wyatt found that was piercing the Ark of the Covenant. So where's the Ark of the Covenant?
Ron Wyatt claimed to find more than just the Ark, right? Because he claimed to find the Ark of the Covenant. He claimed to find what else did he find? Noah's Ark, the Ark of the Covenant. Oh, and then the nail with Jesus' blood that has 24 chromosomes.
Yep, and the
why is it just him finding everything? What's so special about Ron Wyatt?
That's one thing I like to point out is like Christian groups have spent hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of dollars over the course of a couple centuries. They're biased. They're looking for evidence, and they haven't found any. Like, hundreds of years, millions of dollars, teams of people can't find anything. Then along comes one guy to find everything. One guy who's not an archaeologist. He was like he's a doctor or something, wasn't he? Or a physician?
He was, I don't know what he was.
Or a nurse even, or an EMT, some in the medical field. But yeah, so that immediately should be a red flag.
It's bizarre to me how people still to this day run with it. Like, if it were true, if he did find the actual Ark of the Covenant, not only would bro just have dropped dead where he was, firstly, but secondly, wouldn't like we all talk about that for the rest of forever? Like, wouldn't that be on the news every year? The anniversary special of the day Ron Wyatt found the Ark of the Covenant. You know what I mean? Like, we would have holidays around it. We would have conversations about it constantly. There'd always be new research going on, a new data analysis, a new radio frequency thing. But the fact that that doesn't happen should tell people right there that he never found it. And the fact that they still go around talking about it on TikTok, dropping comments on YouTube, like, oh, it's been solved, it's already been found.
Yeah.
Like when was the last time you heard of the evidence?
They're so confident about it.
Yeah.
You clearly have not looked this up yourself.
Well, it's weird. I looked up Ron Wyatt probably like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and depending on what you type, and I don't know if this is my Google starting to learn me, because all I'm Googling is research topics on religious studies, but it only feeds me like positive Ron Wyatt stories, like reasons why Ron Wyatt can't be disproved, reasons why the evidence was lost, but it doesn't have to mean that it was faked. Like, that's all you get, article after article after article. And so I could see how they fall into that trap of like this falsified evidence or this confirmation bias specific evidence. So I don't necessarily blame them, but they should common sense it as well.
It's a general Q&A. Someone asked in the comments. No specific topic. The Catholic Church does not have relics of the cross. They don't. They
By
would
relics of the cross, do they mean like the actual cross
like
Jesus died
fragments
on?
of the cross or something. I'm
Got
guessing.
it.
The reason I say that is crosses were reused over and over and over again, as were the nails. The nails were taken out because iron is expensive.
Hmm.
Um, so like we wouldn't have that. They wouldn't like store it in a secret place. Like Jesus was crucified with criminals. They didn't treat his nails or his cross with any special exception, and his body was likely thrown into a mass grave.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, if though, let's think about it like this: if he were to resurrected 3 days later, wouldn't that mean they would go run and take down the cross because they would be so impressed by the resurrection? And then again, you would see that cross every year. They'd parade around saying, "This is the cross," and they've had it for thousands of years. I feel like they would have,
Yeah,
but they
exactly.
didn't necessarily do that either.
Was it a cross or a torture stake? Um, Crosses came in all kinds of shapes and sizes. Like they do all kinds of stuff. In the War of the Jews, Flavius Josephus records that they crucified so many people that they ran out of wood. So they crucified tons of people, and they crucified them upside down. They crucified them like on an X or like one pole. Um, they crucified them with their legs crossed or one leg on either side of the cross. Um, they crucified them with their hands just tied and not nailed. They did all kinds of stuff.
At least they're trying to get innovative with it, make
Yeah,
it
exactly.
spicy.
Yeah,
We're going to do it sideways or upside down this time.
tired of doing the same old thing. No. So there's no way to say for sure if it was an actual cross. It's probably likely, but
Mm.
I mean it's probably not definitely. What else we got? Would they have used nails for Jesus if the event even happened? I was under the impression that he was roped to tie. Yeah, they would use nails. That's very easily proved archaeologically. Most of the time, they use nails. Sometimes they use nails and rope at the same time. Sometimes they just used rope, like I said. But that was like if they couldn't come up with, or if they couldn't find enough nails because they were rare and hard to come by.
Somebody asked here what our thoughts are on the ark that Ken Ham built.
Yeah.
Did you hear? Okay, wait, funny story. This just triggered something. It was like a month ago, the ark got flooded. And now it's closed for like a year for water damage. They have to rebuild everything.
Yeah, I heard like insurance claims like denied it or something.
Did they?
I think I heard that. I'll have to relook it up. But yeah, like it didn't survive the flood.
Yeah, he went out of his way to make it as true to size as possible, but it couldn't stand up just like our normal storm.
Yeah, and he couldn't fit all the animals in there. I don't know how many animals he has in there though. I'd be curious.
I don't even know.
I'd be curious to learn that.
I feel like there's more animatronics than actual animals.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's
the dinosaurs hanging out with Cain and Abel.
Why did it make Noah build a boat? Because it was taken from the Enuma Elish, or the Epic of Gilgamesh.
I heard somewhere that there was something that predates the Enuma Elish.
Is there?
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember what it was. I think because Enuma Elish is cuneiform, right? So that would have been Sumerian.
Yeah.
So maybe I think it might have been the Mesopotamians had a flood story prior to that. But it's hard to tell because didn't those cultures interweave a lot?
Yeah, they did.
So it'd be like, Aztecs and Mayans having a similar trade story, and I think that's probably why. But it was interesting. I don't remember what it's called. I'd have to look into it.
Yeah.
Have you ever read the whole Enuma Elish?
Yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. Was it good?
That's pretty good.
I've read just the part about Gilgamesh, and I've read, I think, the beginning, like the creation story, but I haven't gone through the rest of the story.
No, I've read the whole Enuma Elish. I haven't read the whole Epic of Gilgamesh. Yeah, I've only read bits and pieces of that.
It's kind of dry because all writings are dry back then. So
Yeah.
it's interesting, but then I don't necessarily follow because I don't know what God's doing what at what time.
Mm,
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at questions over here. Do you think the Bible shows that Jesus and Lazarus were gay together? I get this question a lot because of the John verse of, the disciple that Jesus loved, but it's almost always argued in a sense that it was referring to John because it's in the book of John. Therefore, they didn't name the disciple because it would be assumed that the author of the book was the disciple. I don't really know where they get Lazarus from, but it comes up enough that I guess it's a theory.
Richard Carrier believes that Lazarus was actually the disciple whom Jesus loved.
Really?
I forget his justification for that.
I think it's
yeah.
because like the scene where the disciple is laying in his lap. I think that might be while they're at Lazarus's house.
And it had something to do with like when the women came and told him he was sick, and he like dropped everything he was doing and like ran back to his home as fast as he could so he could heal him.
That's true. That is true. Okay, that makes sense. But I mean, that would have been any of the other 12 disciples too. I don't know.
No.
I don't know. It's a theory. It's definitely a theory, but I think it's a very loose theory. I think it was just the author of John being egotistical, because that's kind of how the author of John was.
Yeah.
So if he was pretending to pin under John's name, even though he wasn't pinning under John's name, it was assigned to him after. But the point being, I think they were just trying to make a point of favoritism.
Yeah. What do you use? The New King James Version with all the revisions in it? No, I use the NASB or New American Standard Bible. That's the most accurate you're going to get. Actually, the most accurate is the Young's Literal.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so accurate, it's difficult to read. Like in Greek, they parse the verbs differently than we do in English. So sometimes it reads kind of like how Yoda would talk. So it's hard to understand. The NASB like corrects those without really taking away from the meaning. So yeah,
I don't have one of those, but that's what I use when I research as well. Like I'll go to the Bible Hub NASB translations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can watch the questions. Oh, yep. Right on, Dustin.
He's in both.
Dustin's in both.
Someone asked, is it possible to be a Christian and not go to church because they don't believe certain things in the Bible?
I mean, yeah, I don't think there's really anything that. I'd say so. Yeah, sure.
Right? Yeah, no, I'd say so because I think it's more about your set of beliefs or your chosen dedication. So if you consider yourself being dedicated towards Christ, then I don't see a problem with saying you're Christian. Leaving dogma behind and saying you don't agree with certain church principles or the way that they conduct themselves in society, or even specific things because of possible errors in the Bible, I think that is a good reason to find your own path.
Definitely. Good question. Shit, I lost it. Where'd you go? What do you think about Satan being the good guy? Yeah, I like that take, especially in the creation narrative in Genesis, because God told them not to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Like God did not want them to have this knowledge, and Satan wanted them to have the knowledge. So the idea goes is that once they obtained that knowledge, they would understand that God is actually evil. And so the serpent wanted them to know that. So he's like, no, eat it, and you will see that God's evil. And then what happens after they do eat? They hide from him. They become afraid of him. So they hide, and he finds them and he punishes them, as well as everybody else who would be born from that moment on, as well as the entire planet. So yeah, that whole thing tracks.
I feel like there's more, but I can't
Oh
I
yeah,
can't jump off of that offhand and
there's a whole
say,
lot more.
but
That's in a nutshell. That's just in Genesis 1 and 2 and 3.
and then it keeps on going from there.
Yeah.
But that again is assuming that the serpent is Satan, which
Yeah.
people constantly do, and I don't think the serpent is Satan.
Yeah, it was either Samael, Lilith, there's a few different.
I think it was just a serpent. I don't even think it was Lilith. I don't think it should be personified. I think it was just like, I heard this crazy theory, right? And I heard that specific, not saying I agree with this, but it's a theory that dinosaurs were in the Garden of Eden and they were behemoth, blah, 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 blah. And then the serpent was made like an actual snake from a dinosaur as its punishment. And that's why there's no more dinosaurs, because it does describe how God took away its legs and said, you'll crawl for the rest of forever. And that's why dinosaurs disappeared. I don't think that person realized there was like dinosaur snakes.
Yeah.
Nor like, the evolutionary problems with it or the timeline problems with it. But it's I think it's a cute theory. It sounds like a good book.
Oh. I would like my question to be answered. What is the best way to ask it? Should I try it in this? Yeah, ask in the live. That's what comments are for.
I guess I could be putting them up on the screen.
Oh, I have to.
Titan boa. Titana, I can never say that word. Yeah, that dinosaur snake.
Titanoboa. Snake. A silly little snake.
Where is the question, Krya? Did you already type it?
Making me go look.
Yeah. Go in question button. Yeah, that's correct.
Captain Poppy asked, reading the Bible, I always felt bad about God's depiction in the Old Testament. How do you feel about it?
Like you feel? What do you mean? I guess I can't really ask. What do you mean you feel bad about it though? Like,
I think they're saying that they specifically feel like God got a bad rep in the Old Testament, or that they didn't do justice writing the characteristics of God because they portrayed him as more, mean and war hungry. That's what I assume they mean.
Yeah.
I don't feel any certain way about it, I guess.
Yeah,
it just is what it is.
It's a difficult question to answer as a non-believer,
And I think because I like dealing with literalists more than anybody else in terms of like debates, because it's easier for me to like hit points. But like in a literalist sense, right, then you can't feel like it's a depiction, because it would be God's choice to be perceived that way because it's his word. So it wouldn't be like a man's depiction. Therefore, you can't feel bad about it because that's how God wanted the Old Testament to be written. That's the point he wanted to make.
How do you guys make sense of random events like coincidences, good or bad? I've never believed in fate or luck. I don't believe in God anymore. But do you believe in karma? Yeah, I don't believe in karma or anything like that. Rachel does. She doesn't think there's coincidences. Like, I think there are. That's just me, though.
My job has taught me otherwise.
I think it depends on the coincidence. I still believe in random events. Like, I think there's a lot of random events. As far as like luck, not so much. Not if it's like gambling or winnings or just those kinds of chance things. But I do think it's really strange when, I don't have a particular example, but like when you haven't thought of somebody for like 3 years and then you're like, I need to call them, and you call them and they just like passed away the day before. Like, that's happened to me. Those things are a little bit woo 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 woo,
Do you believe Lilith should be canon? She is. She's in a psalm, but she's referred to as a night creature or a night owl.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's night creature. But in like the King James version, it translates to Lilith. I think it's the King James. Might be the Latin Vulgate, but yeah, originally, like she's mentioned in the verse in Psalms, and the whole idea of Lilith is because in Genesis 1, you have God created a man and woman. He created them both, and then at the same time, and then he created Adam and Eve. So that's kind of where the story of Lilith started. Is we have to explain who this other woman was, and why she's not in the picture anymore. So
And
pretty much how that started.
specifically, I mean, anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, but in like the Jewish folklore, Lilith is like essentially a succubus. It's on par with that. She would come and while people are sleeping, you know, have sex with the men, still the children. That's why I have a Jewish friend on TikTok who gets really upset when people talk about praising Lilith, because they say it's anti-Semitic because you're worshiping something that for thousands of years the Jewish people have considered a demon who steals their children. And to be insensitive to that by worshiping her is anti-Semitic. We had a fight about it because I don't think it is, but
the entire backstory of Lilith is just filling in the blanks. That's how it started, and then it like took, you know, it took its own path after that, and then that path like split up into many other paths. But yeah, that's kind of where it started. Who made the book, or who made Lucifer look like the red devil with horns? That's a good question. I don't know. Who is that? How did that?
Did Dante's Inferno have a depiction of Satan? Is that where that would have came from?
It did, but there's also Paradise Lost.
I feel like it comes from the Baphomet imagery. So kind of like how people confuse Lucifer with Satan nowadays. Prior to that, people would have just read Baphomet's name in the text and assumed that that was also Satan. And Baphomet did have imagery of horns and has forever. So I think the two just kind of blended.
If you believe in the supernatural but don't believe in a divine figure, then your philosophical epistemological IQ is intellectually handicapped and narrow. Some big words. We're not but humble pirates.
Oh, am I supposed to answer this one first?
I
mean, so there's different levels, you know, of how people believe and respond to things. Like supernatural just literally means anything that's not in the proven sciences, right? So I wouldn't consider believing in aliens to be necessarily a low intellectual process. Plenty of people have who are geniuses, and that would be considered supernatural because it's something not of our earth, right? Yeah. Even though it would be natural if it was proven, but so would anything. So just believing in certain things doesn't necessarily make a person dumb.
Yeah.
Even being a theist wouldn't make somebody dumb. Somebody asked your input on the rapture. I think that's a good topic to get into. What is Captain Dadpool's input on the rapture?
So the rapture is an eisegetic text, which means there's exegesis and eisegesis. Exegesis is when you read a passage and you draw a meaning from it. Eisegesis is when you have an idea and then you go to the scriptures to look for justification. The rapture is that one. It was a prophecy or a vision or a dream that someone had, and they told their church about it, and it like caught wildfire. And basically ended up to what we have today. The rapture is not biblical at all. The scriptures that they use to justify it are very loosely interpreted. And it was made very popular by basically pop culture, like the Left Behind series and the movies.
Left Behind made it so much a thing. And it's just strange to me how so many evangelical pop culture moments exist where it becomes a part of this headcanon that people can't separate. The rapture being one, and then we were just talking about, you know, devil and the horns being one.
Yeah.
Lucifer being that. Lilith can kind of in its way be explained as that, but old pop culture 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like Like, yeah, the imagery of hell came from Dante's Inferno and
Mhm.
uh, oh my god, it just escaped me. Um, Paradise Lost. There it is.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, all these things come from like fan fiction.
right. Which is so weird though, because some of them are so dangerous. I mean, obviously, you could say hell is dangerous for all the numerous reasons that it is a dangerous theology. But I would argue that the rapture is right up there with it. I don't know how many people I've talked to who still suffer from rapture anxiety and just like this weird indoctrinated fear that every time they turn around, their entire family is going to be gone. Or you see it happen during politics, and every political cycle, you see the whole evangelical wing swing up and say, "Oh, they're coming for us. This is it. He's going to be the Antichrist. The
Yeah.
vaccine is the mark of the beast." And people base life decisions off of that, where they move, how they operate around other people, what they do or don't do to take care of themselves,
Yeah.
all because they think they're going to be raptured. And that's dangerous.
It reminds me of that book, 88 Reasons Why Jesus is going to Come Back in 88. I forget the name of the author.
Mm.
But this guy was a like CIA or no, he was like a rocket engineer for NASA. He was a big numbers guy, like a math genius, and like he had it down. He had like everyone convinced that Jesus was coming back in '88 because he was able to tie all these different numbers together. So people took out loans. They sold their houses so
Oh
they
my.
could go spend more time in prayer. Yeah, they took out loans because they didn't think they'd have to pay them back. So just come back. So um, yeah, they did all kinds of stuff, and then it never happened, obviously. So they had to deal with the consequences.
And it doesn't just affect people, it affects all of us, because we see that with global warming too. People have this global warming belief that it doesn't matter. We're not going to be here in another 2 generations.
Yeah,
So why change it now? Because I'm not going to be here. The world's going to be destroyed in a war, in a great holy war. So it's dump gasoline in the ocean. It affects everybody.
There's a place in the Bible that says something like, "There are the words of God and shouldn't be changed or edited." So how do Christians explain that after the tons of books were taken out? Well, they think that the Bible that they have now, that is what those scriptures are talking about. Like
Mhm.
there's two verses in the Old Testament. They're referring to the law specifically. And then the third one is in Revelation, and it says, whoever adds to or takes away from God's revelation will be cursed. So contextually, they're not talking about the entire Bible. It's talking about the law and whatever you call Revelation, apocalyptic literature. Yeah, so it doesn't really apply to the whole Bible. Now Christians use it that way, but that's not what it means.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting just because it's a really good point. I think it was only recently, like maybe a year ago recently, when I learned about the Apocrypha, and that threw me through a loop.
Yeah,
I don't know how I never heard about it until then, but I also think that a lot of people just don't know, to be honest.
yep. And there's also the pseudepigrapha, which is where the Book of Enoch is in. There's 151st Psalm is in there. The Gospel of I think Mary and the Gospel of Judas, I think, are in there, but they're basically collected as for the purpose of being labeled as uncanonical literature.
And I think it's just interesting that the Catholics have their own canon
Yep.
as compared to the Protestants. Because like I don't know why the Protestants didn't decide. They're like, we're taking it out. I want to research that more. From my understanding, there are multiple antichrists, little ones, but there's also the Antichrist, the one who will bring the end of times. You can take the lead on that one. I'm not sure.
I don't actually know either. Like,
I've heard that Antichrist is not defining a person. The Antichrist is supposed to define like anti-Christian traits or values. And therefore it was supposed to be representative of the opposite side of like Rome, for example, they would have been all Antichrist. They would have been the Antichrist nation because they were the opposer. But it somehow got conflated into being a singular double figure.
A lot of it came from like the Romans and the Jews demonizing their enemies. Like they started attributing them to Satan. It's like saying that they were possessed by the devil or monsters. They compared that's only one to the.
It reminds me of Borat. Have you seen Borat, where they have the like Jewish people running down the street in the movie?
No,
You haven't seen Borat?
I've seen Borat, but it's been so long.
So in like Kazakhstan, he says that they're all afraid of Jewish people, and then they dress them up in like these big double paper mache heads, and then like have them run down the street like they're chasing after people.
Okay, I think I do remember that.
It's Sacha Baron Cohen doing what Sacha Baron Cohen does, bringing anti-Semitism to the forefront because people do believe it. They've believed it for a long time, but they're literally like in bed with the devil.
Yeah, that's also where I think I've read it that where they compare it to the behemoth and the leviathan. Yeah, just ways of like.
Wait, they compare the devil to Leviathan?
No, their enemies, like the Romans' enemies, or so yeah, like they start calling them monsters or devils or things like that. I'm currently reading on that.
Okay.
I'm not completely through it. Thoughts on Pauline Christianity versus the Jerusalem Church? The Jerusalem Church, I mean the Ebionites? Because they didn't like Paul at all. They thought he was a heretic. Or was it the Marcionites? Hold on.
I think it was the Marcionites.
I get those two mixed up all the time.
I don't know a lot about the Jerusalem Church. I only know about like the Jerusalem Council, and not even enough to really speak on it, just that they had the whole circumcision debate.
Yeah. Yeah, Marcionites liked Paul. It's the Ebionites that thought he was a heretic. They thought this primarily because of Paul saying that God's promises applied to the Gentiles as well as the Jews now, because they were a Jewish practicing sect that still held to the law, but they also, believed that Jesus was Messiah. So when Paul came out and said that, like no, that's heresy. You still have to hold to the law. But yeah.
Take down my hair. Why was Paul so elevated?
Because he was the only one among Jesus' followers that was educated. He was able to explain things to people that they didn't know. So one theory goes that Jesus' disciples were mourning over his death because they thought this was the Messiah, but he wasn't supposed to die, especially not like this. He was supposed to be this king, this military genius, this conqueror. That's who he was supposed to be. And then he was killed the way he was killed. So then along comes Paul and says, no, wait, this is supposed to happen. And he explains why. I don't know how true that is. Obviously, we don't really have any proof of that, but it's theory.
That's kind of what Bart Ehrman actually went over that in Jesus Interrupted. Yeah. And I've been reading that. And he said that essentially the reason why so many Jewish people of the time, when Jesus was alive, didn't consider him as the Messiah is because he did not fulfill the entire king of Judea and the rise of the Israelites like he was supposed to. He's over here preaching on rocks and, maybe turning water into blood, but he was supposed to be rebuilding the kingdom. And because he wasn't in a position of power and he wasn't affluent and he wasn't rich, it didn't line up with what they thought the Messiah was. And that's why they didn't consider him to be.
Yes.
So that makes sense that Paul was the one who came in and was like, no, but you have to look at it from salvation through grace. The kingdom is in heaven.
Exactly. Yeah, Weisenant was the name of the author who wrote 88 Reasons why the rapture will happen in 88. Thoughts on purgatory? Um, I'm not super knowledgeable in purgatory because I wasn't raised Catholic, but I know the idea of it kind of started from. I don't know. I can't remember.
I feel like it's an expanded Sheol. I don't know that, but I
Yeah,
mean that's
because
where I feel like scripturally it came from.
yeah, because um, Sheol and Gehenna, like it was first it was like annihilationism, and then it kind of evolved into like a temporary punishment, and then you were annihilated. And then so that like later down the road, it's kind of where purgatory came from. And then the Catholic Church like hammered that on really hard because they could sell indulgences,
Mhm.
which for those who don't know. Is if you have a loved one who is up in purgatory and they were in pain and suffering, you could pay the priest to have them pay the priest to have them pray for your loved one's soul to enter into heaven faster, so they would suffer less. Massive, massive is probably one of the biggest scams in history.
Eh, I don't I don't know. I don't know how they haven't gave reparations back to people or something for that. I don't know what they need to do, but that was a huge thing. They still don't they have a similar form of indulgences, just not with like direct monetary fee? Like there's still like spiritual indulgence, I think. I'm
Yeah,
not sure on
sure.
that. Don't quote me.
Yeah. Um, Fuck, I was gonna say something. I can't remember now. Does anyone see where police kicked a couple people out of the PA Home Depot for performing an exorcism in the lumber aisle? No. Oh my god. But I am going to look that up right after this. Jackal Twinkie.
Is it because like it couldn't wait? Like they just like had to do it right then and there? And was it an exorcism on like a person they knew or a person they didn't know?
Yeah, like
The questions are gonna haunt
did like the demon like take over right in the aisle? Like
you.
they're probably just mad about the price of the wood.
They might have seen Jesus in the grain of the wood, and
What's
that
up,
was like,
buddy?
oh, it's time. Took it as a sign.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm ready for the Eddie.
Hi, Jack. Okay, let me see if we have questions here.
Can there still be a creator without a religion? Yeah, absolutely. That would be deism, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Deism is the idea that God created everything and then popped smoke and never to interact with his creation ever again. Which one theory about that is that the reason God did that is because he knew our nature and he knew that we would go to war and kill each other over the worship of him. So he's like, I don't want any part of this, but I don't want to destroy everything, all my creation either. So he just left because he thought that would prevent them from worshiping him. But it happened anyway. Just a fun little theory.
Did that theory have a name? What was the name of that?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, I was gonna say I want to look into that
Yeah.
because that kind of goes along the lines of like the whole God is dead or God is imprisoned.
Yeah.
Different sects that had those different beliefs. I think it makes sense. I think it follows along with like the demiurge theory, right? So if the demiurge became conscious of his place in the universe, wouldn't he step down? Maybe.
Yeah, 2.1 thousand subscribers. Woo!
Nice. Congrats.
Good. Good stuff.
Somebody asked me if I take song requests. We don't have any music on right now, so no.
Yeah. It's not really our channel. Do you play video games, JEGAYSUS?
Do I play video games? Oh, yes. So I was talking about this on my live yesterday for some reason too. And I have an Xbox One and I have zero time to play and I haven't picked it up properly in like 2.5 years. Last game I played was Kingdom Hearts 3. I didn't finish it. And then I went out and bought a Switch during the pandemic and pretty much only played Animal Crossing and then stopped. So I just recently started playing both again because I was like, they're here, I need to. And I was watching E3 and it got me excited. So I just started playing A Plague Tale, the first one. It's pretty cool. It's a little slow. And then in terms of my Switch, I'm playing Borderlands.
Oh, I played Borderlands, the second one, I think.
But I don't have any time. All my time is yelling at people in comments. It takes all my day.
So my time is yelling at kids. That's why I've had people complain that I don't interact in the comments on my videos enough. I'm like, I know, I'm sorry. Too busy.
Yeah. And it's probably not worth it. You probably have an air of mystery about you when you don't do that too.
Yeah, it's part of my charm. Sure. I recently acquired a Switch. I didn't buy one, but someone gave it to me. And I started playing Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, which I
never got into that game.
Oh my god!
I wish.
I won a tournament in college. Like there's a citywide held Smash Brothers tournament, and I went in there and I destroyed everybody. And it was a charity event, so I've made a lot of money for that charity. But I haven't really played it in like years. So I recently got the Switch. I'm like, I get to play Super Smash Bros. Ultimate now, and I'm
Is
making
it totally different? I haven't played the new one at all.
It is and it isn't. Like it still kind of feels familiar, but just looks better, and there's more characters and more stages. And what's up, Cancel Religion?
Okay, wait. So this question, the Marquis de Sade, which is really funny because Karaya just commented dentist from Little Shop came on Pandora yesterday, and I was thinking about the dentist, and then they have an entire song where it compares him to Marquis de Sade. And then the question on the screen is also from the username Marquis de Sade. See, coincidence? I think not. Back to the coincidence question. When did the duality of all sins were forgiven on the cross, and all of these things are sins that you'll be punished for come from? All sins forgiven. There's a lot of sins that you will be to have. I don't know if I fully understand the question. So are you saying that at the same time everything is forgivable, but at the same time almost every little thing that you do in life is an action that can be judged for?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think it's just like different atonement theories clashing together and becoming just like a mix.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I was going to say, is that question is like such a broad way to answer that. Like it's a very much an evolution of ideas over time that really nobody agrees on. What is going on in my comments right now?
I'm looking over here.
By the way, I hate this mic. It's really good, but since it's white, it makes reading my comments on my lives really hard. Because the lettering
is like white text next to a white mic.
Yeah, and it's all the text is right over my mic. So it's like really hard to like move into
paint it black. Get some paint.
I might have to do that. I'm not big into white anyway, so clearly
I
just had to do that.
Can you explain whether Lucifer was a mistranslation or a misunderstanding of Hellel? I don't think it necessarily was a mistranslation as much as it was a misunderstanding, but not by the people who wrote it or the people of the time. I think it's a misunderstanding of people now, because Hillel bin Sahar was an actual king, and the text was written for people who would have understand the cultural reference.
Yeah.
And the story of his fall, etc. So it was just, they didn't go out of their way to like make it really clear that the Lightbringer was also a real king. And then when it's used for Jesus, I'm not even sure why it was used for Jesus. It just popped up into the Latin Vulgate because of the morning star.
Yeah.
At which point, I don't know if that was supposed to be referencing back to the Isaiah verse. I don't know why they were doing it in the middle of Revelation for no reason.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Yeah, Lucifer was translated morning star as referring to Venus, because Venus is appears to fall from the sky, which is why a lot of myths come around that. And that's what Lucifer originally was. And then he kind of blended in with the idea of the whole Satan Lucifer like thing. It just comes from so many different like avenues. It's hard to like when people are like, what is the origin of this? I'm like, oh, this it's such a hard one to answer. Like there's a
They all
million.
feed each other.
Yeah, there's like 20 different origin stories. Like I could give you one, but that's just one. It's kind of like the Trinity, and
I think you see the evolution of what every text you look at in the Bible through that too. Like just looking at the Gospels, how they kind of ramp each other up as you go by the dates they were written. It's like that. If it's like that in the writing, then you can be sure it's like that in the actual theology and like the doctrine and people just adding in new opinions that become part of the zeitgeist. Who are?
what is your belief in creation? As in, where do we come from? Um, I mean, I believe in the Big Bang. I'm no astrophysicist, but prior to the singularity, there wasn't really such thing as time. There wasn't really such thing as space. All the matter was contained within it, and whatever caused the explosion created time and space and stretched it out. And then as the matter cooled, it took on different properties, and soon protons were created, and then I think, and then electrons, and then neutrons, or something like that, and then they started fusing together, and then in a nutshell, not a science.
That reminds me of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah, I still haven't read that. I really want to.
I'm trying to remember exactly how it goes. See if I can like. They're talking about the Earth being created.
Hmm.
I can't find it. I won't ruin it for people because I actually want to read the real quote.
I have not seen Zeitgeist. I've had so many people.
You've never seen Zeitgeist?
No, it sounds like a big like conspiracy theory thing. Like, is it worth watching?
It is a kind of conspiracy theory thing, but at the same time, I mean, there's some that was just really, really off the mark. But there's a lot of things that are certainly interesting, and was like one of my first steps into deconstruction. Because I probably watched it when I was like 13, but.
Okay.
It's an easy watch. It gets really rabbit holey in Zeitgeist 2 and 3 because they get off the religion topic and they start jumping into like the Illuminati and stuff. Oh man, I can't find the quote. Oh wait, okay. Here it is. The story so far. In the beginning, the universe was created. This has made a lot of people very angry and been widely regarded as a bad move. That's how I feel about it.
Right? All right. What else we got?
Bless your food. People are still debating in my comments about Jesus being gay versus straight.
Oh.
People have a really hard time separating my name from the actual Jesus, right? But I just think it's really interesting how people are so sure that like straight's the default, which is, I mean, like, yeah, it is necessary to have straight people.
That could be orange kitty.
But if it never describes Jesus having any kind of relationships with a female, it's a really interesting presumption to assume that he's straight as compared to asexual.
Good audiobooks. I really like God Is Not Great by Christopher Hitchens. I've listened to it twice. He narrates it himself, and of course his voice is just beautiful.
Beautiful. I don't know if I'd say beautiful, but
I
it's
love
a good
his
speaking voice. It's solid.
Yeah, his voice is actually very good voice. I like it. Hits all my buttons, I guess. A lot of Bart Ehrman's books I've listened to. A couple of them I've read and listened to. Currently, I'm listening to a book on the origins of Satan. And it's okay. Not my favorite.
It's okay.
But it's a little dry. But yeah,
I'm really bad at audiobooks. Right now I'm listening to Jesus Interrupted by Bart Ehrman. and it's really hard because I have to go back. I don't retain information when somebody's reading it to me. Like I jump out of words, so I have to
that's how I am when I read.
Really,
like I can read an entire chapter, but like daydream about something else, or like plan what chores am I going to get done today, like while I'm reading it, and then I'll get to a point where like, wait, what did I just read? I didn't, like, I'm reading it, but it doesn't absorb.
Yeah.
But audiobooks, like I'm really good at absorbing those.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, just how my brain works. Yeah, I think so far Jesus Interrupted is my favorite book of Bart Ehrman's.
Really? So I started out with the good one?
Yeah. Like
I was going to start out with Heaven and Hell because I've actually never read a Bart Ehrman book. So I bought Heaven and Hell when I was doing my Hell series. And and I have it in physical form, but I was in school at the time and I didn't have any time to read it. And I was like, I'm going to read it this summer before I start summer classes. Did I? No. But that one's not as good as Jesus Interrupted?
They're all really good.
Okay.
I just think Jesus Interrupted is like the best like summation of the Gospels. But Heaven and Hell is really good as far as like talking about how the idea of hell and heaven evolved, where it came from, what it meant at different stages in history. But so yeah, like if you want to know about heaven and hell, like that is a good book to read. But I'm a little bit more interested in like the Gospels and the varying manuscripts and things like that.
Wasn't that your specialty when you're in school? Is that what your degree is specified in? Is like?
Yeah, kind of. It's my degree was like theology, so it's just drawing meaning from text or belief, and trying to interpret what a text means, and then. But I was also really into apologetics. That was like my side hustle, but
they don't make you get like specified things within it though, like well, translating or evangelism.
Really. Yeah, it's there's like pastoral ministries, youth ministries, children ministries, missionary, biblical theology, and like there's like Bible, just Bible.
Just Bible.
Yeah. So yeah,
I've seen people say that I have a degree in the Bible, and I'm always like, what does that mean?
Yeah. And then you just go. I think from there you go into more specialties in your graduate work. I didn't have a minor. We didn't really have minors in my school.
You minored in Bible.
Yeah. As I say, I minored in apologetics because that's what I studied the most on my own.
Do I support Simon Cowell slander? Yeah.
Who's that?
Yes, it is Captain Dadpool. We're live on Captain Dadpool's YouTube. Somebody heard your voice and recognized it.
Oh. Well,
you do have a very distinct voice. I did a voiceover thing in one of my videos and dropped my voice like that. And someone was like, oh, did you film that when you were doing your podcast with Dadpool? I was like, that was my voice.
See, it's funny, when I first started making videos, I was subconscious about my voice because I feel like I'm very monotone. But then like I got a lot of compliments on my voice, and I was like, why do you like my voice? I'm monotone as shit. And they were like, well, that's kind of like what we like about it.
That's the good part.
Like, oh, thank you. Yeah. So like I'm not self-conscious about my voice anymore. So thanks TikTok.
The Old Testament talks about divine Sophia as the wisdom of God. So there seems to be the masculine and feminine vernacular associated with God. True. Oh man, what was it? I just learned the other day too that there's a word describing something that is female and male. Is it Yahweh? Is it Yah being feminine, Way being masculine?
I'm not sure. Maybe.
I think there's something about that. Like, it's something along those lines where they're referring specifically to like God being just in the Hebrew. They used both feminine and masculine nouns smashed together and made a new word, which is right there.
Have you paid your phone bill? Yeah. Thoughts on aliens? I got a few of these.
Hmm.
I kind of default to the Fermi paradox, which means that statistically, it's very likely that there are millions of alien species out there. But the paradox is that we've never come into contact with them. What's up, Mel? So there's a lot of theories about that. There's like a technological gap theory. My favorite is the dark forest theory, which is what I was kind of talking about earlier with deism. Is they know that if they visited us, like we would go to war, or like we would kill them, or we'd go to war with each other over what to do with them, or if to worship them, or whatever. So they know that because they've observed us do that. So they don't want to come anywhere near us.
That's fair.
It's called the dark forest theory.
So there's like silent watchers observing from
Yeah.
distance. That makes sense.
Pretty much.
I also feel like, I mean, I don't know anything until I know anything, you know?
Yeah.
So there's that going on. But I feel like if there were aliens, they'd be in a similar position to us. Like, we cannot travel billions of light years away in a lifetime or million. Yeah. So why would they? Like, I don't think they're necessarily advanced enough to break all of known physics, which they would have to do to be able to travel across galaxies. So I think they're just also isolated on a planet millions of light years away, just doing their thing, you know? Have you seen the original full Bible, not redacted and edited by man? I know you were asking that to somebody else, but let's talk about that. Do you believe there was ever at one point a full Bible? Do you think there was like a Q?
Like the Q document would be different from a full Bible.
I know, but something similar to the Q, but for the full Bible.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything prior to the Latin Vulgate. Because before that, it was just a big collection of manuscripts.
Yeah.
But
what is Q then? Is it specifically towards one gospel? Is it
so the Q document is Matthew and Luke obviously used Mark as a source,
right?
But there's also other phrases or like things that Jesus said that are recorded in both, and they're also mentioned in Thomas. And Thomas is, I made a TikTok about this earlier. Thomas is just a collection of Jesus' sayings. There's no narrative behind it. It's just a collection of things he said. And a lot of what you see in Matthew and Luke are in there as well. Mm-hmm. So the idea is that there is this other source, like they use Mark and they used something else as their source for writing the Gospels. There's a lot of theories about whether this exists or not, but it's a hypothetical document. We don't have it. It's just evidence seems to suggest that
I thought they had pieces, like boop, 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 boop.
Not of
like little phrases that are still surviving, and they call it like Q93 or something.
Oh, P93.
P93.
So P for papyrus. So there's P42, which is a fragment of John. It's about the size of a credit card. And there's P45, which is the second piece of the oldest piece of the news that we have, and it's Mark. It's very beat up, but it's Mark. It's missing the first chapter and the last two chapters.
Oh, okay. That's a pretty large chunk.
Yeah.
That's like a good amount as compared to the other documents.
Yeah.
But I would almost argue that, like, why don't they talk about Thomas being the building blocks more? Because I was reading Thomas on my live because it's the very first book in my Gnostic Bible. Mm-hmm. And I was going to do like the scheduled live thing where I did readings every week from one book of the Gnostics because I never really got around to making my podcast. But I went through Thomas and I was reading it the first time while I was live. And I was like, I know this story. I know that part. I know that. You know what I mean? I was pretty blown away with how much of that was just translated back into the Gospels. And supposedly, it could be argued that Thomas came before any of the Gospels.
Yeah, it's possible. It's a little more difficult to date Thomas. So it could be around Mark or it could be shortly after John. They're not really sure. And there's arguments for both. I think maybe the reason I don't know this for sure. I think maybe the reason it wasn't included was the last verse. Where Mary can't enter to heaven because she's a woman. So Jesus said, "I will make her like a man."
I didn't read the last verse. I haven't got that far, but it says what?
Hold on.
The shade. Where's my Bible? It's in here somewhere too. I just know where it is. Okay, here, let me unplug this. Let me see. Or you can just Google it. Yeah, go ahead and Google it.
I got you right here.
I was about to do the most. It's under my bed.
God damn it. Stupid ad.
Because I was reading it on my live and I stopped everyone to be like, whoa, because I did a video about the verse about saying, there's neither Greek nor Jew, there's neither male nor female, the Paul verse. But prior to that, there was Thomas saying that you can literally not enter heaven until there is no more male and there is no more female, and instead you are like one.
Yeah. So it's saying
non-binary.
Yeah, it's saying and saying 114. So there's 114 of Jesus dialogues in it. So when you reference it, you say saying 1, saying 8, saying 19. So this is saying 114 is the very last. Simon Peter said to them, "Let Mary go away from us, for women are not worthy of life." Jesus said, "Look, I will draw her in so as to make her male, and then she too may become a living male spirit similar to you. But I say to you, every woman who makes herself male will enter the kingdom of heaven." Yeah.
Wow.
Which is so wild because the rest of Thomas is not weird at all.
It's not. No, it's pretty straightforward.
That voice, if you take that last verse out, like Thomas would be a really good gospel.
Yeah. I don't know if they would have kept any of the sayings for a gospel because it's not. People like stories. They like the narratives.
Yeah, that's it's kind of like a psalm or like Psalms or Proverbs.
I thought it was better because I could just get to the point.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's kind of Jesus takes a really weird turn in that last verse.
I don't think that's him taking a weird turn. I think that's just where the theology takes a weird turn, just blatantly saying women aren't worthy of entering heaven. But I think it's actually showing Jesus being the radical again, saying, well, then I'll make her a man. Because everyone deserves heaven, especially... Wait, which Mary? Mag or his mom? I say Mag like we're best friends. Mary Mag. Oh, Mags. Oh, yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't say. Because again, it's just a collection of sayings. There's a narrative around it, so there's no context clues as to who.
That's true.
Which Mary. Okay. Yeah, there is no context like that.
Someone made a good joke in here. Thomas came first. Doubt it. It's Thomas after all. Doubt it. Get it?
Oh.
Bible jokes.
Nice. I'm good. My tooth is fine.
Did you break it?
Did you not know this?
No, I know that you messed up your face by trying to backflip, but I didn't know that you broke it. Oh no! Ouch.
I'm getting a cap put on it in 3 weeks or something. But
yeah, is the nerve exposed or is it just
it was?
Oof.
But it was just barely. Mm-hmm. So she was like, I don't know if the nerve is exposed or not, so I'm gonna poke around a little bit, and she did, and I just felt like fucking lightning go through my whole body. She was like, I jerked.
Oh Lord.
She was like, oh yep, it's exposed. Okay, so they put some putty shit on it to close the hole, and they're like, since it's exposed, we have to wait 4 weeks to see if there's any damage to it, because
it's hurting my insides just thinking about this. I can't imagine how you felt.
Such a weird, terrible pain. It's like a pain you've never felt before.
Yeah.
So it's that was it hurt a shit ton, but it felt weird. Anyway.
Yeah. Krya asked if anyone has read Lamb by Christopher Moore. I have not. But I get told to read it all the time.
What do Christians say about religion that predates their own? No, it doesn't.
If God was there from the beginning, how can you predate God? Um,
Yeah, Prince. Um,
also, that they were just led astray, but worshiping the same God, they just did it wrong. I've heard that before.
yeah, something like that. But anytime I talk about the Enuma Elish or the Mir Papyra, or the Epic of Gilgamesh, there was like the carbon dating on those is wrong.
Mm.
No, it isn't. It isn't. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much what they say. It's like not just nah. Like, sorry. It's like I didn't make the rules.
I am interested to see if, like, anywhere in the next 40, 50, 100 years, if we get to a point where we have like new discoveries, like we come across like a new, Nag Hammadi. Like, there's going to be discoveries. I know there are.
Well,
And people have argued that it's not going to be archaeological in nature. It's going to be just like cataloging, because there's still so many libraries out in the world with like stacks and stacks and reams of paper that have not ever been touched or read before. And they're sitting in like the papal archives, and they're sitting in a little church in the middle of France that only 5 people in the town go to, in the basement. And you know what I mean?
yeah.
So it's going to be a discovery of like a rediscovery more than anything else. And I'd be interested to see what comes out of it someday.
There's a Gnostic. What was the Gnostic gospel? Was it Thomas? Was just discovered like 30 years ago.
Yeah, the Nag Hammadi was in the 70s. Yeah.
So like like we're still discovering things. What do you know about Ananias and Sapphira from the Bible? Are they the ones that hoarded the tithe money in Acts?
I didn't hear the first part of the question.
Ananias and Sapphira.
Oh,
I'm trying to remember where they're from.
I recognize the name.
Yeah,
that's about it.
I think it's the ones who like hoarded the tithe money in Acts, and then God killed them or something.
Here, let me Google it. Who's Sapphira?
Then God smote them on sight. Yeah, it was them.
Look at you. You're good.
Yeah. Do you think a new religion will form, or will science eventually just be too obvious? I don't think probably other religions that get formed, but I think.
Look at Scientology.
Yeah.
Scientology exists on the back of science. Yeah. Not really, but psychology.
And Christian Science.
And Christian Science.
That's a whole other religion too.
Which is weird, because isn't Christian Science just not believing in science? Isn't that like the basis of the doctrine? Don't believe in medicine, don't believe in psychology.
Yeah, it's something like that. And they take like Mormonism approaches to like health, like no coffee, no anything.
Yeah. So. But I think it's an interesting theory to wonder if at some point the Abrahamic religions would feign out in favor of a new, like, most popular religion.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'd ever be to that point as a society. Like, recognizing there's other religions, that's true. Like, but I don't see Buddhism being able to become the #1 religion practiced in the world, because it's not empirical. There's no one out there trying to like conquer countries in the name of Buddha.
Yeah.
So I don't see that being a possibility anytime soon.
Is Genesis immediately contradictory when Cain is cast out and immediately found more people? Yeah. Yeah, basically. And that's one theory of how they get around how did one family was just a bunch of incest. And that's one theory is like, oh, maybe there's other tribes, and this is just a statement about one of them.
Yeah, as soon as he left the valley, he went over to Nod, and just the fact that there was a place called Nod. Why was there a place called Nod unless there's people living in Nod?
Yeah.
And the fact that he was worried that other people were going to kill him because they would have known what he did to his brother. Yeah. And so he was fearful for his life to see if those rumors spread, which means not only were there other people who would have killed him, but there were other people in communication with them because they would have already found out about this knowledge and this news, which means they had an outside dialogue going on somehow.
Yeah. You owned that one. Trump 913. Lo and behold, the Lord Trump has the biggest hands.
No.
Blew my mind today. There's a woman alive today who is the mitochondrial Eve of the future. What? That sounds interesting. I'm going to have to read up on that.
Wait, she's alive today and she's the mitochondrial Eve of the future?
Yeah.
How could you be the mitochondrial Eve of the future? She came back?
No, I don't know. I'm not really sure what that means.
It sounds almost like she's destined to restart humanity after an apocalypse, and then she'll be the new Eve to start the race.
Oh.
So that's what I'm getting from it.
That makes sense.
Let's see what's going on. Do we have questions over on TikTok? I'm sorry. It feels like I'm annoying you, but I'm looking over here. How do you feel about, okay, because they're in a debate about the Bible being altered in terms of text and translation. How, being somebody who's researched the linguistic aspect and the evolution of like original languages and the translation process, how do you feel about the number of translations, I guess, and how do you feel about the way in which it's translated? You know, whether it's literal, context, greater idea.
So the scribes, when they made new manuscripts, prior to Constantine, it was not done by professionals. It was done by amateurs. There's a difference between being literate and being a scribe. Being a scribe requires further education. Being literate, but they used people who were literate. Oftentimes, it was done by a slave as part of their chores. You make copies of this document. Sometimes they would have two of the same document that they're making copy and they can compare, and then there would be a different word on each, and they would have to guess. So it was very, very dodgy, and there was a lot of changes in our earlier manuscripts prior to Constantine. When Constantine,
they're writing in ink too. That smears. There's been many smear cases.
Yeah, there are some accidents where like other words came out of like an accidental slip of a pen. There's also manuscripts that are missing letters, missing lines, missing entire paragraphs, and then there's efforts to figure out if those lines should be in there, if they were added later. So anyway, it's a huge mess. Before Constantine, the process of copying manuscripts was just a disaster. Constantine ordered the copying of I forget how many manuscripts by actual scribes. So the differences became much, much less, or they became much more consistent after that.
Makes sense.
So, yeah, we can see where the changes were made. We can see where intentional changes were made to enforce a certain theology. You can see where things were added by groups that were anti-Semitic. But yeah, so
I think it's probably important to remember too that even intentional changes, while like we could find them, I think it's more important to think about like the unintentional changes.
Yeah.
Because if you really like look into the psychology of people, do I have that stuff in my in the psychology of people, you already have a confirmation bias built into you. And there's no way you can separate yourself from the confirmation bias. So even if they didn't intentionally mean like, oh, I'm going to change this word from the women went down to the well, but like they're coming in with their preconceived notion of how they see the world. So if they're not used to wells or something, they'll be like, yes, that's right, the watering hole. It's a really bad example, but my analogy stands.
Yeah,
like they'd be like, oh, women don't do that. So that word must have meant, they probably meant robe. That's definitely probably robe because of course women wear robes. They don't wear stashes, whatever it was. They would just accidentally put in their own bias while they're going fast and translating.
And that's exactly right. They would if they saw something that they thought was a mistake, then they would take the liberty of correcting it, and maybe even if it wasn't a mistake. So it was like done with like good intention,
right?
But it's still an alteration of the text. We love you all. Thanks.
Oh,
How many times has the Bible been translated? What is it? We have like 75,000 manuscripts.
Is there?
Or 175,000 manuscripts? Oh yeah, there's a shit ton of manuscripts.
You're talking about like Neo manuscripts?
No, like
where did you get this number from? What is this number?
Like
Are you talking about like the original codices or how?
Like the number of scribal translations. The number of copies that have been made.
Okay.
Before like the formulation of the Latin Vulgate, or if there was something prior to that, I'm not sure.
Before the Latin Vulgate, there's 75,000.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
It is.
Have they cataloged those? Like, are they searchable online?
There is a website where you can. It doesn't show I forget the real website. But there's a scan of all of them, and you can look up. They're all named, like talking about P42, P45. There's P, there's Q, there's X, there's a bunch of different codes.
I'm about to go back and learn Hebrew so I can get up in here and get some Old Testament scans. My dad tried to teach me Hebrew when I was younger, and I don't know, he's always on to the next thing, so it didn't work, but I wish I would have stuck with it.
I wish I'd kept up with my Greek. It's a very perishable skill.
Oh, I bet. You don't just like speak it once a day, just, keep it fresh.
Nope, didn't do that.
Were you able to speak it, or is it like your focus mainly on reading it?
I could read and translate it. Like I couldn't speak it.
Because how do you say it? Koine?
Koine. Yeah.
It's dead, right? Like that's not a modern Greek language.
Right.
Okay.
Still survives.
So I don't think that would be very useful outside of the Bible.
I'm trying to find. The first printed copy of the Bible appeared in 1488. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to read.
He's researching. I'm going to look at my chat while we're here. Yeah. Some more infighting.
Where is it?
It's kind of freeing not to have to watch people go back and forth in my chat. Yesterday it was crazy. So I was worried that it would be as crazy today, but they're being pretty cool. They're just having their own debates in here.
Oh, that's cool. Had a few of those.
Whenever someone says the word fool, I just think of the verse where it says that if you call anyone fool, you're going to hell.
Yeah.
Jesus' words, not mine. So, like, I'm so sorry, Hams a Drip. You're gone. Nice knowing you.
Oh, no, sorry. 5,600 manuscripts. I don't know where I got 75,000 from.
5,600 is a little different than 75,000.
Yeah, just a little bit.
It's still a lot.
But
it's still a lot.
Oh, that's just in Greek. Over 94% of the manuscripts that we have come from the 9th century and later. So, yeah, that's pretty late. So 6% of our manuscripts came before the 9th century, which is crazy.
Why is this happening? I'm trying to turn off something on my computer and it just keeps on turning it on. I was trying to get over to YouTube. Oh well, I give up. I was gonna pull up something and I don't even remember what it was. Somebody was sending me. I got into like the longest debate yesterday over what were we talking about?
Maybe it was 7,500 because this is just the Greek 5,600 Greek
You're
manuscripts.
still stuck on the 75 part.
Yeah, like I got that number from somewhere, and I'm trying to. Because somebody in my comments is like, I thought it was 7,500, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I thought the number 75 was in there too. Anyway, sorry, I wasn't. You're in a huge.
No,
debate?
you're fine. I was trying to look for something up too, and then I started playing YouTube videos by accident.
Oops.
Trying to find that verse. Matthew 5:22 for the people who asked what the verse is. Oh, and as soon as I found it, Faye Mom, thank you. They didn't like me with the full comment, but it does. But whoever shall say, "Thou fools," will be in danger of hellfire.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah. It's the one that they use to say that you're not allowed to say, like, ass, in other words, because the fool was a cuss word, and that's evidence that cussing is sinful in nature.
Yeah, that's right.
But then Jesus himself turns around and calls people fools. So
weird.
Can't be a sin, right? Right.
Thoughts on the Dead Sea Scrolls? The Dead Sea Scrolls were older than any of the manuscripts that we had, but it was still all the same information. Like we didn't really learn anything new from them. They're just, it was a remarkable archaeological discovery. But it also had like the Book of Enoch and the Gospel of Mary and Magdalene had like books from the pseudepigrapha in it. So when Christians like to say like, oh, this is proof that it's legit, and like, okay, then so that should these other books be added too? Like, no, then you're still picking and choosing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand. I get into debates about it on my channel all the time, but I don't understand how people like stand behind canon, like what's canon versus what's not. And there's some obvious ones. Like I understand why Enoch wouldn't be canon, right? But there's some, like we're going over the Thomas thing, where like they just have to actually decide what's against doctrine. They have to decide what is heretical at the time. And that's why I'm not super impressed by what's canon and what's not. When people yell at me, that's not in the canon. That's not okay. Well, because when they compiled the Bible in the 1500s and finally printed that thing, that's kind of what we got locked into. But it could have changed a couple years later with another council. They've gone back and forth on so many of the same ideals, such as dualism versus God being man and God, or God just being man, and then adoptionism and all that stuff's going back and forth for centuries. The ecumenical councils 4, 5, and 6 went from one to the other, full circle, and killed people and arrested them in between that. So if the Bible were to have been printed right there at the 5th council, we would have a whole different set of books.
Yep. No, there's no mention of Jesus in the scrolls. They were all books from the Old Testament and the Apocrypha and Pseudepigrapha. Yeah, no mention of Jesus. He wasn't around then. They predate him.
Lori wants to know, do you think we will find the original autographs relative to the biblical text?
No.
When you say autographs, are you talking about like the authorship behind?
No, autograph is the very first copy. That's where the word autograph is.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the autograph is the original document. But no, they likely were destroyed, not so much intentionally, but papyrus is not made to last. So, like if you have, there have been instances where they've made a discovery in like a pot or a trunk, and they open it, and the air exposure like crumbled the papers to pieces. So like those papyrus isn't made to hold or can't hold up the test of time. Um, that's why we have so few of them.
It reminds me of that story. Oh God, I can't even remember which one it was. I know it's not the Nag Hammadi. It's the other group of texts that was found. But like the kids who found it and took it home, and then her mother was burning the pages of these ancient manuscripts.
Oh, I know what you're
to stay
talking about.
warm or cook or whatever. That's all I think of when you're talking about them crumbling. Is people just accidentally destroying them. Let alone the ones who have kept them in a shoebox for a year or something because they don't know how to preserve ancient text. Makes me sad.
Yeah.
Was that your cat, or was I just seeing something on my eye?
Yeah, that was my cat.
Oh, I was looking at the chat and I just saw some things like, what?
Yeah, here comes again. I call him Captain Boundary Issues.
I love it.
He absolutely has boundary issues.
Greener side, yeah, I put you on mod. So thanks, yeah, that's the one.
All right. Well, how much longer do you want to keep going? I'm gonna need to be getting to bed soon.
We can do however long you want to. If you want to do final questions, we can do that.
This will be like 15 more minutes.
We can do 15.
Yeah, it'll be 11. Nice even number. It's not even number. It's not.
Why is this wider shins person so funny? Isn't it cool that ancient people scrolled through text, and that's why we got the term scrolling on our phones?
Oh, Wiener Schnitzel's hilarious. She is like reached god tier status in pun making.
I love it.
Yeah, she's usually in my lives or something, cracking jokes. Another mass grave was found in Canada. Yeah, I heard about that.
Of the native children?
Yeah. Which I think was where
they only recently ended those schools for like, I don't even know what you call it, like unnativing the kids. Like they put them in a boarding school to like strip their culture away from them,
like convert them
into being more Western.
Cultural.
Yeah,
it's like reverse cultural appropriation. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And that just ended in like 2002 or something. Was the last one in Canada when it closed. Like it's fairly recent. That's where a lot of these kids in the mass graves and stuff were coming from, is because they would get sick. They were undernourished. They used to test. The reason why we have like the expected calorie limits or the recommended daily value is because at these boarding schools full of native children, they would basically starve them and give them a little bit more food each day until they found out like what the recommended substance is for them to be like fully healthy.
Oh, really?
And that's how we got that officially.
I hadn't heard that before.
On the kids. Was it 96? 96 sounds right. Maybe 2002 is a different number that I'm just throwing out there. We'll go with 96. I trust you.
The word you're looking for is indoctrination and abuse. Yeah, but there's a more specific term referring to like stripping someone of their culture. Like,
I know there is too. I just couldn't tell you what it is. I don't do very well with pulling them out of nowhere. Okay, let's see what we got here. Questions. Can you talk about Matthew 25:41? Do you know it off the top of your head, Dad?
I don't.
Am I the only one who calls you Dad?
I think so.
I think most people call you Captain.
They do. I'm good with it. 25, was it 31? Get off my keyboard.
25:41. So then he will say to those on his left, "Depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels."
What is the context of that verse?
I don't know. It's a parable. It is a parable.
Yeah. So, and that's a big thing right there. You can't draw theology from narrative, which is a parable. Well, not really. Never mind. But it is a parable. But you can't. Not so much theology, but like doctrine. You can't really get doctrine from theology.
Right. It's supposed to be teaching you an overall lesson. It's supposed to be an arc, not a command. I'm pulling up the Greek right now because I think, well, first of all, it's in Matthew. So like we'd be talking about Gehenna. Yeah, I don't speak Greek well enough. But I have heard an interesting argument on this, and it's just not coming to me right now. All I know is that specifically, I don't have an informed opinion on it. Oh, that's what it is. Okay, I just clicked on the word that's used for like the eternal fire it's talking about is actually the word that's used is anion or anion. I don't know how to say that, but specifically it's talking about the end of an age. You believe Jesus is talking about Tartarus. So here's the thing. Yeah. So Tartarus specifically is what he would be referring to when he says the fire prepared for the devil and his angels, because the devil and his angels are the only one who are referred to as going to Tartarus. So this is one of the examples people have used multiple times to say like, oh, he did say people are going to be in hell with the devil too. Yeah. But I don't think that's necessarily true in the context of the parable.
No.
I have to read the full chapter.
All right. Assimilation? They're talking about the
cultural assimilation?
Yeah. And someone
Maybe.
said
that might be the right word.
But someone said assimilation is, they think it's consensual.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, but assimilation is you choosing to join a certain thing. Like I want to assimilate into society by learning the language would be assimilation. I don't think stripping somebody of their culture is assimilation. Yeah. It's more nefarious.
No, we don't. I don't believe in a higher being.
I was going to turn on this light 1 second. That did not help my camera at all. It helped my computer camera, but not my live camera. My live camera looks like I'm sitting in a muddy water field somewhere.
Deuteronomy 23.
Deuteronomy 23. We're just going to be researching verses.
Yeah. 20 verse 3.
24:13?
20 verse 3. Not Deuteronomy 23. Yeah.
Oh, 20 verse 3.
He shall say, "Hear, Israel, today you are going into battle against your enemies. Do not be faint-hearted or afraid. Do not panic or be terrified by them." What is the question about this?
Yeah, a question would help too, instead of people just dropping verses.
Yeah.
They might have meant 21:3.
21:3?
I don't know. The elders of the town nearest the body shall take a heifer that has never been worked, has never worn a yoke. Marrying a captive woman is read out. The right to the firstborn. Deuteronomy gets crazy. Yeah, I think we're going to talk about anything. We should be talking about 21:15. Because like listen to the insanity that is this rule. If a man has 2 wives and he loves one but not the other, and both bear him sons, but the firstborn is the son of the wife he doesn't love, When he wills his properties to his sons, he must not give the rights to the firstborn of the son of the wife that he loves in preference to his actual firstborn, the son of the wife who he does not love. He must acknowledge the son of his unloved wife and firstborn by giving him a double share of all he has. Then the son with his first of his father's strength. The right of the firstborn belongs to him. I guess. For all those people out there with multiple wives.
How about that?
Getting pregnant at the same exact time. How do you give up double of your inheritance? How do you give up double of everything you have?
Well, they inherit, this is Deuteronomy 23:2. Oh, they messed up. So no one born of a forbidden marriage, nor any of their descendants, may enter the assembly of the Lord, not even in the 10th generation. That's an interesting one. Oh, it starts with that verse. No one has been emasculated by crushing or cutting may enter the assembly of the Lord. No one born of a forbidden marriage, yeah.
What is a forbidden marriage? At what point would that be considered forbidden? The footnote also says, or one of illegitimate birth.
Like a marriage
not recognized by the temple?
Yeah, because they were arranged marriages.
True.
At the time. So maybe if you refuse to do that and marry someone else, I'm not sure. I'd have to dust off one of my older books to find out.
Well, because like even concubines, right, would have been fair game. That would have been a legitimate marriage. So I was trying to figure out what they consider as legitimate or not.
Oh.
Well, there's my light. Okay, questions. I want to know about thoughts on the Gospel of Judas and Yahweh as the demiurge. So I don't think the Gospel of Judas really points to Yahweh being the demiurge. I think that's... No, I lied. It does. It's actually one of the only things that keeps it being Gnostic. I think that Yahweh being the demiurge has a lot of really fair points, right? First and foremost, the Gospel of Judas is such a weird up and down roller coaster because it's like Judas is regarded as being favored and then at the same time is being cursed down by Jesus. So he's still vilified. He's like made the hero and the villain all within the text, which is really interesting dynamic. It shows Jesus being kind of like hot-tempered and a jerk, which is interesting as well, because if we're talking about like the Gnostic belief that Jesus was all loving as compared to the demiurge being wrathful, it's interesting that they showed Jesus in a wrathful light as well. And that's like one of the reasons why they've argued that was never canonized, is because Jesus got mad and was cursing and going off his temper.
Oh yeah, the infancy gospel of Thomas.
The infancy gospel was great.
Yeah, Jesus killed children, and to the point where like Mary and Joseph had to pretty much like lock him in the house and never let him leave. They taught him. That's where he learned everything, and learned how to control himself. I guess control his powers.
And like he just terrorized the town.
Yeah.
After he like went hurting his friend, he just like went on a rampage. Went through his parents. Went through the townspeople who were like trying to.
He killed one of his teachers.
Yeah. What do you think about the thought? I don't think it's necessarily Gnostic, but it reminded me of his youthful years. What do you think about the thought that he toured around India and China and the eastern areas before he came back to ministry?
I'm not sure. I haven't studied too much about that.
I haven't either, but people ask me about it all the time. I wanted to get your opinion.
I don't think he would have had the capabilities of that kind of travel.
The means.
Yeah, like he grew up in a modest household. He wouldn't have been able to.
Yeah.
Like he was very educated, but he didn't really have to travel to get that education.
Maybe he had sponsors.
I don't think he ever made any trips to India or China.
I think they say that because there's much in the same way that we see outside Eastern religions coming into Christianity and early Judaism. I think we also see things like, Apollonius in Greece, and we see some sayings that Jesus would have specifically coined up here in, text about the Buddha. And it's, I think, a way to explain, like, how could a Buddha have came to the same revelation? Oh, well, because Jesus was traveling and would have met the Buddha and would have taught him to say that. Because how else could someone come up with, love thy neighbor, unless they were Jesus, because it was so revolutionary. No one's ever had that thought before. I think that's what it is.
Yes, you're incredible. Oh, stop. No, keep going. No, stop.
The greener side says, okay, I'm back again. Did some sleuthing. Still not sure if your friend is who I think it is. I put it in the description. I think Captain Dadpool. What did you change your name on TikTok?
No, Captain Dadpool 86.
86. Captain Dadpool 86 is the voice.
It's 86.
We should have duo lived at the same time we were doing this, and then we would have been on the same screen.
I've tried that before, and the audio looped really terribly. Like I tried that.
That makes sense.
Tried that with Crimson Barrel.
That's smart. You're right.
It was a nightmare. We're like, yeah, that's not gonna work.
My head. Wait, what? Okay, wait. Let me go back to this.
You graduated today. Congratulations.
Seems a lot like the story of Hercules. I think they're talking about Jesus traveling. Sounds like the story of Hercules. But I mean, that's how you kind of touched on it for a second too. Isn't that how people got their education, was through traveling studies?
Yeah.
Learn as an apprentice under different people throughout. But again, that's usually, like you said, people with money.
Yeah. I think Robert Price has a lot to say about stuff like that. I love your TikToks. Oh, thanks.
Cryo, you also said Hercules. Interesting. Okay, so maybe there's more parallel to this than I saw.
The amount of arguments you give me to disqualify my family's misogynistic opinion is unreal. I am glad I could help with that. I really am.
Wolverine Tax asks, what's your opinion on Enoch's writing of Jeremiah? Oh, sorry. Barak. Enoch's rewriting on Barak.
I'd have to refamiliarize myself with that.
Yeah, I do not know that off the top of my head.
Yeah, sorry. More historians wrote about his Hercules than Jesus. That makes Hercules a real historical figure. Yeah.
Same with Apollonius, though.
Yeah, true.
But Apollonius isn't even debatable as being a historical figure or not. Like, he 100% was, as compared to Hercules, which we could still debate because there's only the fantastical claims.
Yeah.
Which I find so interesting that we have primary sources on Apollonius, and people don't talk about it like they should.
Mm-hmm.
Enoch rewrites.
What made you give up believing in God? After you stop believing in the Christian God, you can just kind of look at the world from a maybe more objective standpoint. And then I started thinking about the issue of divine hiddenness, the theodicy, the problem of evil. I was like, it makes more sense that we are the result of chaotic celestial events, not celestial, but chaotic natural events than an all-powerful, all-knowing, all-loving God.
Okay, so they're saying that Barak was the scribe and rewrote Jeremiah to set up the New Testament. It's a Septuagint. rewrite. When I googled it, they said that it was Ezra though, not Enoch. But what you're saying, Barak would be the real one. So they're saying it's the big word that I can't say.
I'm not familiar with that.
Pseudo orthodox or
Pseudo-orthodox?
pseudo. How do you say this?
Oh, pseudepigrapha.
That it was a pseudepigrapha choice, and they chose Ezra to go with as compared to Enoch. But they're like, but further than Enoch, why didn't they put Isaiah as the writer, or Ezekiel, or any of these other venerated people? Why Ezra when it was really written by Barak?
Yeah, I can't answer that one.
I'm gonna read that paper later because it looks like a good paper. Oh, you mentioned Enoch by mistake. No, but there's an actual article on it, so like you're actually dead on the money. So they're saying it would be more venerated if it were Enoch. It would have more authority to it, which is why they use these pen names anyway, right?
Yeah, like Enoch, like fills in the gaps in Genesis, pretty much why it was written. And then, God takes him on a tour of heaven and a tour of hell. So
I've never read Enoch.
I have.
I'm sure you have. But like, so he actually goes on a tour of hell, like the hell?
It's been years. Yeah.
Really? But that's weird because at the time there wasn't a hell within Second Temple Judaism.
I can't remember what the description of hell was.
I'd have to read Enoch.
Maybe I just haven't. It's been a very long time since I've read it.
You know what, though? No, Enoch would have been like First Temple Judaism, wouldn't it? And there was a hell in First Temple Judaism. I think. I don't know. I might be way far off. People are going to cancel me on that.
My lip is fine. It's getting better by the day.
No.
Oh God.
I can't say the name like you did, but Weiderschnitz. I started questioning God more and more when I read the Bible. Basically, I had a midlife crisis.
Yeah, see, she does shit like that. We just call her Wiener Schnitzel.
I can't. It's so good. You're my favorite pun maker now. I can't do puns to save my life. That's amazing.
Oh, man. All right, I think I'm about ready to wrap things up.
There you go. Take care of that lip.
Yeah, I need to go to bed.
Yeah, it's late for you. What time is it? Like midnight?
11:06. Yeah, and she gets up at 5 for work, and I make her coffee and breakfast, so I'm up at 5 too.
Wow, that's very sweet of you.
5:30.
That's the least I appreciate that you care for her.
I put up with all of his shit.
Yes,
that is true. You put up with a lot.
She does. All right, yeah. So, thanks again, JEGAYSUS, for coming on the show again.
Of course.
We'll have to do it again. Sure.
I like hanging out.
Yeah, I'm thinking about like doing the Q&As more consistently and having like prior guests come back on. Yeah, it's just things. All right, so thanks everyone who tuned in.
Right, I can't do an after party. I'm sorry, but
you could stay as long as you like. I'm going to bed. All right, so thanks guys. Love y'all. Stay tuned for more shenanigans.
I'm gonna say goodbye to my TikTok live as well. Thank you guys for hanging out.
Okay, that was for my live. Okay. All right, guys, I'm on. Bye.
Bye.